Let's talk family, interracial families, because a lot, and I think this, more and more since Keith Bardwell, since my interview with Philip Andy, because he was saying that he really thinks people having a couple, especially a black man and a white woman, and that's the initial rub, and that's why we have, it's from the get-go, something to work through.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta bring up Tiger in just for a minute, because were you, even the Associated Press running a story about how all black women are disgusted, it didn't say all, but it was like, black women are disgusted that all of his mistresses are white. I mean, really?
That's
all black women feel affronted because all his mistresses are white? Why is that the story?
Right, how was that?
Like, they didn't go do a story like, how do all of the Asian women feel?
Right, or all of the white men.
I don't know.
Feel also upset that
it was so weird. And it's like, they're not making this, it's so easy to like not make the connection between their daughter is, of color. Of some color. I don't know what she wants to identify herself as ultimately, but she's black and Asian and Swedish and whatever else it is. And can you imagine her standing there and saying, all of these white black men are with these white women. I am affronted. That's her mom, right? Like, her mom is white. I don't know.
And that would be something that's a person who knows that, a few generations back, some white got in there, would not necessarily see that. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a difference between us and, I can't forget that that's me. I can't, it's not just a little idiosyncratic fact that I'm guessing about.
Well, that's what was so great about Michelle Obama's family history. That we actually got to know something, small details, about those people where she is, mixed from way back. Like, I liked knowing that. And people said, oh, it doesn't matter, we're all mixed. And I said, no, story matters. It actually matters that this is the exact story. These are details and facts and specifics and people.
It's the road that got us.
Right, so even though we don't know the circumstances, and we assume, because I think that it was the great-grandmother, right, she was a slave, so I have to assume, because of this relationship, it's coercive. And, Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson, even if there was some affection, there's coercion,
no choice.
Right? Like, coercion. So, but yet and still, it's not that I want to celebrate that moment, but I do want to celebrate the fact that now we have details about the life of this mixed ancestor that she had.
The journey.
And so it's not that I want to say, oh, whatever, like, now we're privileging the story of this rape.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is I really think it's important that then, obviously, she did have this child who became a man and went on to do things. And I want to know more about that. Like, I think that's a good story. No. And it shows us how connected we are.
Yes, and in turn, my story is a good story to know, and your story is a good story to know.
Yes, all the stories. So you were asking about interracial families.
Okay, well, the last line was, if only we had been a family that could fly. And I thought, how many of us could say that about our interracial family, because so many don't make it. But what if they could have? What if, and I'm not trying to begrudge anything that's happened since the fall of my family, but I think I wouldn't have gotten so far away from my middle if we'd been together. And also, Rachel says, I think that a family shouldn't be so hard to see. It should be the one thing people notice by looking at you. and what that does to you when there is no recognition of that, and really how the catalyst for the biggest tragedy in Rachel's life is that her mother realizes that how can she protect them if people can't see that they're hers? How can you be this one word when that totally leaves her out? And really that also is the great tragedy.
Oh my gosh,
Because
you totally understood what I was trying.
Yes, I did.
I'm so sorry. It's just very exciting to have told a story that made sense and this
A
felt
lot of sense, and really, I mean, touched me and healed me in places. And we'll do that for others.
I hope so. This is this is why I wrote the book. Well, because our family was not recognized. I mean, my parents broke up. And then it was impossible for us to be a family anymore. We lived in a black neighborhood. We spoke Danish at home. None of it made sense to anyone. And it really tore down the social fabric of our family, essentially. My brother decided that he was embarrassed by speaking Danish, so he stopped speaking Danish for many years. So that took something away. It was embarrassing to eat the foods we liked. And so we didn't do it, right? So that took something away. And we were constantly trying to find a way to be identifiable. And we couldn't. We couldn't find it because we were incorrect. I hope things are changing in that regard.
Well, something else that I thought didn't really have anything to do with race, but
What? Everything does.
A really central and incredibly important theme that I realized. I mean, it's just because where I'm coming from right now, but this horrible thing happened, and we keep going back to it. But that's not the story. The story is her life. We often get stuck in these moments.
You're making me so happy. I'm sorry.
I'm really glad. Yeah, there's so much more story, and you can't shake that moment sometimes, but I mean, you have a choice to let that color everything, or to kind of close the chapter and understand what it has made you.
Yeah.
Or you can just keep going back to that moment and never
You're making me
recover
so happy. You have no understanding. Yes. So my hope is that people understand this is not a tragic mulatto story. It starts off with this horrific incident. But my point is to get that out of the way. The tragedy has happened. We're moving on with story, life. Things are going to happen to her, and we don't know. So people are clamoring now for the sequel. My mom, not people. I was clamoring for the sequel. Okay, and then you, Tiffany Jones and my mom. And I may write that at some point, not now. I'm not writing it now. But yeah, the point, what I hope I hope people walk away with knowing that ultimately Rachel she's not triumphant, right? In the end, but she's not a tragedy. She's not a tragic mulatto. Tragedy has happened to her, has been imposed upon her, but she continues, she goes on.
And she survives.
She's gonna be okay.
Yeah, she'll probably thrive.
She's gonna be okay. That's the thing. Okay, we're done. You really liked it, really?
I really loved it. Really loved